Save
You
it
ever
for the
get the
podcast,
feeling
man.
that everything in America is completely fucked up? You know that feeling that the whole country is like 1 inch away from saying, that's it, forget it.
Now look, here's a house full of bees. You think none of you guys are kids?
Listen, let's get one thing straight. Guns don't kill people. They
Probably say God bless her. God bless her. Little place to think God knows it. I'm not ashamed to say I'm proud to admit, and I'm proud to admit on camera and on camera that I will never.
Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome to
May run out of Tom Wood Show episodes. You know, that's not impossible. So check out Liberty Tree Podcast.
Gold jacket, green jacket, who gives it?
I think some apologies are in order.
Boom. That's the intro. All right. Ruben.
Yes.
How you doing, sir?
Hello, Jacob.
Move that mic in a little bit closer, or move yourself to it. Everybody wants to hear
Hello, Jacob.
something other than me. So this is the Liberty Tree Podcast, and this is going to be a bizarro episode because I'm usually the dude that sits in the background and Googles shit for Matt and Kelly. And Matt and Kelly are both away.
And I live my life in the background, so
Nice.
extremely
God
weird.
bless. We're going to get into this shit.
Well, first of all,
Yeah.
I say shout out Lucy Jean Cadena. You're famous. She wanted me to say that.
And this is who?
My daughter.
Okay.
She's 8 years old.
Good deal. Father.
She thought it was extremely cool that I was doing a podcast.
Do you think this room here would live up to our expectations of what's happening? It's not bad.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I mean, it will fall up. Everything will fall down if you swing your elbow the wrong way, bump something here. I made it over and got all this shit set up.
Where
And
do you usually sit over here?
what's that?
Where do you usually
I'm
sit?
usually over there in the corner. Yeah, got the feet up. I'm actually just generally. I swear to God, dude, these guys sit here and talk about all kinds of shit. Literally, just over there watching porn. The whole like, it's a weird, like, I fetishized it. I didn't even know. If you're ever listening to the show and they're like, yeah, what do you think, Jake? And I'm like, repeat the question.
Can you smell my boner? Is there a scent?
So, thanks for coming in and helping me sort of man the skeleton crew here. At first, they were talking about having me just do one by myself, and I'm just going to sit here and rap and like this. That seems weird. How are you going to talk to yourself for 2 hours and not just expose the insanity? Like, really?
Just verbal masturbation.
I could think there's a market for that. Sit here, watch porn, and just talk it. Yeah.
I Googled it.
Yeah. But yeah, that intro, that was not the music I ordered. Kelly kind of curates the intro, and I sent him something, and that wasn't it.
Did you change the intro every time?
Yeah. Maddie, we don't talk about, like, he specifically does not talk about the bands and stuff that he was in because why not? I don't know. He doesn't like that to be out in the public, so to speak. But both he and Kelly were in bands, I guess. But Matt, it was like his career for a while, touring and playing. I don't know if he's on recorded albums. I don't really know a whole bunch of shit about his musical stuff. But apparently he's really good at the bass. But yeah, they fancy themselves sort of like a musical aficionados of some fashion, right? And they've got strong opinions on a lot of music. And I'm kind of like here or there with it. But I just realized that there's something kind of like a Dunning-Kruger effect. when it pertains to, the Dunning-Kruger effect?
I don't know.
That's like the people that know the least about something feel like they know the most about it. It's like how stupid people feel the smartest. Let's see. Let's get a Dunning-Kruger effect is a cognitive bias where people with a low ability at a task overestimate their competence, while those in a high ability tend to underestimate their own skill. That's officially what.
I've pondered that actually. I've seen that a lot in like work. And I'm not saying that I have the best ability, but I doubt myself all the time, and I think it's to a fault.
Sure.
But I've seen people with extreme hubris. And I don't know where that comes from, that confidence. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works for them, gets them in the door. And I don't know.
I mean, you definitely can't get yourself a job by advertising your speculative capabilities in whatever the role might be. You have to come in and be like, no, I've done that. I can do this, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's what do they call that? The imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that shit happens. But I feel like there's a version of that applies to music, where people with the shittiest taste in music think that they have the best taste in music.
But wouldn't that all be subjective?
I think so, but you got to admit that there's absolutely some shitty music out there, right?
Give me an example of what you consider.
Okay, so let me see. I was actually looking. Damn, hold on. I got this because I saw some dude on the internet the other day. He was doing a rundown of some of the best hip hop, and one of them was so bad that I actually looked it up to see if it was even real. So let me see. I'll pull this up right now. And yeah, this is actual real music. 645 AR is
that
the
a title?
This is the jam right here. All right, let's get this going.
Oh, I actually have this tattooed on me.
For Da Trap. So we'll give this a play and see if the Dunning-Kruger effect, where we're at with this. So
That's the intro? Or is that
there's lyrics to this.
we're listening to the lyrics.
That's the guy. That's the guy singing. Okay, so Dunning-Kruger effect. Now, I didn't care for that. I don't think I would listen to that.
No, at first
go
I was going
ahead.
to say, the beat's all right, but then it wasn't. It was like jolty, like your jiu-jitsu.
Jolty jujitsu. Yeah. So I don't know. Dunning-Kruger effect as it pertains to music. I don't know if we need a new term, but I feel like there's an opportunity for some enterprising lad to name the Dunning-Kruger effect for music, where you feel like you have the superior taste in music, and everybody else is, probably because they don't like what you like, has shit taste in music.
But wouldn't that what you be doing to that person that liked that?
Maybe.
Right?
I mean,
Like if a
each
person
their
just
own. It is
genuinely
subjective,
like
as
that.
you said. That who fucking knows? Like maybe
Yeah,
15
I don't
years
know.
from now.
Maybe it speaks to them, or I don't know. Who knows? The reason I say that is because I've tried to like listen to music or watch movies that are like acclaimed and supposed to be, critically acclaimed, and I just can't. I don't get it, and I don't know if that's me, a disconnect, or maybe like I'm mentally blocking it because I don't want to like it. I don't know.
That's a thing.
Huh.
Remember,
like
remember that time I asked you if you'd ever seen Game of Thrones?
Yeah, I still don't like it. well, I did. I think I did watch it afterwards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the story is you and I were grabbing coffee. I asked if you had seen this show because I had a knee surgery and I basically was laid up for a while. And a buddy of mine gave me all of I think they were only on season 1. It ended. I had never seen it, so I basically had the opportunity to sit down and watch a whole show. I thought it, I don't know, it could have been the meds, right? I sat down there on the couch, hit play on season 1, episode 1. And I think by the end of the night, I was on like episode 4, right? So I just basically wasn't doing anything but watching this show. And the show wasn't the worst thing in the world. Later on, I asked you at said coffee meetup whether or not you'd seen the show, and you're like, it sounds gay. Like, nah, I ain't doing that.
I mean, that was a different time. I might have said that.
You can move that thing to the end of the table.
Sounds pretty.
However you're comfortable. But yeah, then like I got it was like a year, 2, 3 years later. I don't know what the fuck we were at, where we were doing, but you came up and you were like, "Have you seen Game of Thrones?" You were like, "It's not bad." I just fucking I think I was holding something and I just threw it on the ground and what do you listen to? What's your music?
Lately, I've been listening to like a lot of. I don't know what the genre would be. It's kind of country, but like the songwriter type. But there's like a guy named Benjamin Todd, Tyler Childers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never heard of them.
Yeah, it's kind of like country, but they're like, I don't know. Their lyrics are pretty sweet. They got a lot of depth.
Okay. I'm into that.
But it really depends on my mood.
Sure. Yeah, it was like, it makes me think I was looking for a job one time and saw this job listing online, and it was for a local internet service provider, small company, and I sent my resume in, and the dude emailed me back within like 15 minutes. So he's like, "Hey, is this real? Is your resume real or whatever?" Yes, my resume is real. Cool. There was like a bunch of emailing back and forth, discussing the role, and ultimately that manifested in like discussions about setting up like an interview or time to meet in person.
What was the position?
So he has an ISP here. It's a wireless ISP, and he needed somebody with some experience to kind of, I don't know if it was like a support role. I forget, but my background was way above what this. I was just looking for a simple. It's basically like applying at McDonald's. Like, I just want to flip burgers type shit, and but he was interested because I had burger flipping experience plus, right? But anyway, everything was fine until, we set up this date and time to meet in person and whatever. And he sends me this last email, and I just, fuck, man. His last email just literally said, "What type of music moves you?" And I mean, things have been going so well. I'm like, fuck, this guy's nuts. All right.
That's random.
Yeah, I don't think I replied.
Well, it's like, I think about it like, I don't know. I've tried to look at art. Like, what is that, Pollock?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everybody likes him. I don't get it. It looks like splatters to me.
Okay.
But I feel like you
Jackson
could.
Pollock? What's that guy's name?
Yeah, Jack. I don't know. But I feel like you can. It's all about context,
That
right?
is Jackson Pollock. Yeah, American painter. What's he do? Images.
You can infer meaning and like quality to anything if you want it. I would think.
I mean, I can. Yeah, this is interesting stuff here. That's cool. That's wallpaper, dude. I don't know. To each their own. Those are probably expensive as fuck.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. I just don't get like the meaning and the depth to it. Like, it doesn't. Does that just mean I'm stupid? I don't know.
It depends on who you're talking to, I guess.
Yeah.
They might say so.
I think so.
So let's see here. Liberty Cheap Podcast, Bizarro Episode 1. Fuck, this is actually...
Is that what this is called?
That's
Bizarro?
Bizarro Episode 1. That's when all the adults are gone and it's just me and you.
It's you and your boner and me, huh? Where's the crowd?
Yeah, so... You ever watch Soft White Underbelly?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple other interviews. I mean, I don't watch it all the time, but I've seen some of their interviews. Yeah.
I started putting down some questions to ask you, and I
shit.
started making me think like this
Am I on that
basically
level?
a Soft Right Underbelly episodes.
That's hurtful. Thanks.
So this doesn't have to be all about you. We're gonna get around the corner on a couple different things, I presume. But first of all, boxers or briefs?
Boxer briefs.
My man. So tell us a little bit about your background. As much as you're interested in doing so, just like where you from? What was your childhood like?
So I was born and raised in Sonoma County. I am 49. I'll be 50 in October. So I was born in.
Damn.
Yeah. I was born in Community Hospital. Right on Sinead. Right here.
Damn.
Yeah. Haven't really moved around too much.
That's the one that's shut down now up on the hill.
Yeah, it turned into Memorial, I guess. Or no, Sutter.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was. Were you born in Sonoma County?
I was born in Vallejo. I don't think they had a Kaiser here when I was born. So there's this. I think the story is my mom was about to pop, and they threw me in the car, or threw her in the car, and drove to Vallejo.
Damn.
Yeah. Kind of a weird one.
So you've always been a bird.
Yeah. How about the childhood? Born and raised in Sonoma County.
Yeah.
Anything notable there you want to go over?
I mean, I guess it's a pretty chaotic, different childhood, you know? So my parents were like, I don't even remember a time when my parents were together. They kind of got divorced. They had me when they were young. Like my dad was 18, my mom was like 16, 17. So they got divorced. I don't know, they were separated when I was growing up. My dad was off doing his thing. I'd see him every now and then, you know. He was always in and out of jail. But he was kind of like, he'd kidnap me from like preschool or something like that. When I'd hang out with him, he was like fun. Because I'd only see him in certain, yeah. And then my mom, so I was raised by my mom a little bit, and so from what I've learned, she was schizophrenic. And that, I don't know if that morphed into a drug habit, but she was a heroin addict.
Okay.
Yeah. So with all that, the chaos and all that goes with it, you know, things got pretty abusive quite a few times. And just out of nowhere, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was taken from her quite a few times. I went back and forth to like
At what age was that roughly for you?
well, my mom died when I was 8, so that all happened before I was 8, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was in and out of like not foster home per se, but like Valley of the Moon. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. By the juvenile hall. I think it's something different now, but when I was there, when I was a kid, Valley of the Moon was kind of like a transitional for fostering. So I would go there temporarily, and if you didn't have anywhere else, you'd eventually go into the foster care. But eventually my grandma would get me, my grandma Lucy. So I'd always go to my grandma. She would have custody of me, and my mom would do a little bit better, and then she would get custody of me, and it was just kind of chaotic.
Sure.
Yeah. And then when I was 8, I wasn't living with her at the time, but she took her life when I was 8. It's a trip because I wasn't living with her, but she lived on Santa Rosa Avenue at the time. Remember Everybody's Talking?
Yeah.
Yeah, she lived right behind that.
That was the
strip club.
The only strip club
Yeah.
that I think ever existed in our town. Yeah. It doesn't exist anymore, but
I used to drive by and giggle. Boobs.
boobies.
So she had a party for me for my 8th birthday at her house. And that was the last time I saw her. She took her life like a couple days later, I think. Yeah.
Oh, that's heavy.
Yeah.
mean-
What a bummer. You asked for contact.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's what we love here. I got taken by, I gotta assume I think it was like my older brother. One of my older brothers and maybe some girl that he was with were like, hey, wait in the car while we go in this bar for a little bit. So my only memory of everybody's talking, other than every kid that grew up around here at the time, has of like driving by where everybody's talking, was like, there's the strip club right there. Was one day I sat in the back of the car by myself, and probably it was at some point in the 80s, I'd assume, just waiting for them to come out of the bar. That's my everybody's talking story. Not super great.
Lance?
What's that?
Lance? You're talking about?
I'm not sure if it was him or my other brother. All I remember is basically sitting in the back of the car looking at a bar.
Well, when I was a kid, my mom, before all that, because we kind of moved to Sacramento for a while too, and her and her boyfriend were like boosters.
What's that?
Like they would steal stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like that was their only gig. So I would always wait outside.
What kind of shit would they take? What kind of stores would they go to?
Everything. Groceries. I remember them coming out with like steaks. They would go into the mall and steal clothes. And I would always just wait in the car. Yeah.
That was a big thing back in the day.
Yeah.
Like, talking about my brothers. They would have like full on, it was before you see a lot of that shit now where like they do the smash and grabs. And, you see that shit on the news all the time. But these guys were going down to like Terra Linda, to like the Macy's, and just, grabbing full on racks, just the whole rack, because, they would like, chain shit to the rack.
Yeah.
So they just roll the rack out the door, throw it in a van, and
Yeah.
they were doing that a long time ago. Where the hell did we meet at? Training?
Yeah. Well, when I started training here, I think you might have been training the first time. I only came for one day in Santa Rosa when I lived in Sacramento when I was older. You might have been at the gym, I think. That's where I first met you. I'm not sure.
I literally have zero recollection of meeting you for the first time. But
I think it was because of Chella was your roommate at the time. You weren't training. You were going to school.
Okay.
And then I think I met you through him because you lived together.
So how'd you meet him?
Just training.
Okay.
Yeah. Because me and him were the same size, so we ended up always training together.
The gym is a weird place because you can meet some of the best people you ever meet in your entire life that, they might end up being a friend that you have for life. And you'll have no recollection of really when they showed up because of the way that environment is. You're there to train. You're not necessarily there to meet people and shit. And it's kind of like a bus station. There's people come, then they go. Sometimes it's the same faces. Sometimes there's different faces. And it's really difficult to tell which of the faces become repetitious until like maybe you're like a year into it.
Yeah.
Right? So it's really difficult to see like when people show up and they never leave, after a while you're like, hey, cool. I've known this guy for a while.
Yeah,
now.
right.
I don't fucking know how, like, when we met or whatever, but like.
All I know is you buy his Juice Shack. Remember Juice Shack?
Juice Shack.
Just nicknames.
Is that where you started training? Was it in Sacramento originally?
Well, the first time I ever trained is because you remember my Tony.
Tony.
Yeah, he kept bugging me to train. I was like, So I was visiting Santa Rosa. I was living in Sacramento. I was visiting my cousin or my family. So I went in on the Sunday at the old gym by 24 Hour Fitness. Mm-hmm. It was like a Sunday or a Saturday, I forgot. But I just trained and I got hooked. And then I went to Sacramento and signed up.
Where'd you sign up there?
Cassio Warnick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was he there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Him and
Was he
his
like
wife ran it.
Was he a stocky dude or was he a big dude? I know.
Yeah, he was pretty yoked.
I don't know if I've ever met him.
He's pretty yoked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Him and his wife were seemed like bodybuilders kind of in a way.
Okay.
But he was a really nice guy. He was kind of like a traditional, really respectful and really, really cool.
Was it gi, no gi, a little bit of both?
Yeah, it was gi, and then they didn't really do no gi. Sometimes they would let you, but yeah, it wasn't frowned upon, but it wasn't accepted.
Yeah. That's how a lot of people started training.
I remember when I went there, people asked, "Hey, how'd you start training?" And I told them, "Oh, I trained at Dave's Churros for one day," and all of them knew who Dave was, And they're like, I remember one guy was like, "Yeah, he's really good, but he tends to hurt people. Or like, he's not really my style, but yeah, he's good. I guess it was just different vibes.
There's like yeah, I mean, it's hard to say how deserving the stigma of, I guess, I don't know if we should refer to it as like Dave Terrell or Cesar Gracie. You know, there's like these lineages that show up in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And this particular lineage seems like it's been assigned this stigma of, you know, do it at your own risk. Like, make sure you're taking care of yourself because no one else is going to do it. And if you don't, you're going to get hurt. You know, there's definitely been a long period of time where it was definitely training for the sake of, you know, fighting. You know,
Yeah.
it's changed pretty significantly. It's
Yeah.
like that's not gone, but with such a heavy influx of people doing it, and I guess you got to take the business aspect into it. If you really want to have subscribers or, you know, people that show up and pay their monthly dues,
Yeah.
you can't have them scared for their life. They're not even going to walk in the door. And it seemed like to me something where I was suspecting that other gym owners or people from other gyms would say that about our gym specifically to, like, I don't think they know. These are people that are by and large don't have any actual first-hand experience there.
This that wasn't Casio saying that. It was
Oh,
just
yeah,
his
yeah.
students, yeah.
For sure.
And these are guys that just knew Dave from competing.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
That was a long time ago.
absolutely. But anyways, I mean, I suggest everybody find a gym they like. If you go to a gym and you don't like it, try another one.
Yeah. There's always going to be egos, right? Jerks. Mm-hmm. I remember when I used to train when a lot of the new gyms were coming out, like locally. I just never got the attitude of like us against them. Like that, they're just doing a martial arts like we are. They enjoy it. It's not a competition, right? I don't know. I just never got that.
I mean, there's a lot of different mindsets you're going to bump into. I mean, I always figured it's a microcosm of just people. They're not any different than any other people. I feel like you could take 50 people at random at the mall, get them all in a group. You're going to end up with the same ratio of normal and crazy people than you do if you go to like a gym. I think it's just the same. You got to expect this mix up of people in any like body size, right? 50 people, you're going to have a couple weirdos in there.
But even now, I think about that. Like that's all relative too. Like craziness. Like how much craziness do you got in yourself that you just know how to focus or like contain, right?
I'm the only normal
I got
person.
plenty of it.
I am the only normal person. So
I got so much craziness in me that I just like,
keep it down.
yeah, I don't know.
Ah, man. I have to talk to people for work. It's basically what I do is I talk to people. I meet new people that I work with. I meet customers. And I've got to completely omit any element of my personal predisposition, biases, or all these different things. You know, what I do, I'm essentially just a gray man to every single person that's not in my like circle of friends, right? And that's kind of by design.
Is that a character?
What's that?
Gray man's a character?
Gray man just in this sense just means like,
Background?
yeah, I don't need to beat anybody over the head with my thoughts on anything. I'm here to do a thing, and let's talk about that thing. You know, I guess that's the same way at the gym, although you do develop friendships there. You know, you start hanging out with people outside that you meet at the gym, and, you know, then maybe these people are starting to, you know, pull the curtain back and get to know you on a personal level at some point. But by and large, like, I'm not trying to bring that into every human interaction that exists. But yeah, I mean, you know, talking about politics, talking about religion, talking about your, you know, I mean, there's a lot of different things that fall under those two umbrellas right there. I just, you know, I don't want to walk away from any conversation with somebody having divulged all of my beliefs about something. There's just no time and place. It's just not appropriate by and large. I cannot. So crazy. You know, you meet somebody the first time. Hey, how you doing? It's like, fuck. They never should have given women the right to vote, and we got to get those illegals out of here. And I'm like, how's your sandwich?
We had that conversation in private. This is how I was feeling that day.
Yeah. So
It was funny. So yesterday, me and my daughter Lucy, we rode our bikes to Ike's on Mendo, and then we went and had just a picnic in the grass across the street at the JC.
sure.
So these people, we've had we have conversations about like social awareness, right? And yesterday we were talking about social awareness because these people sat down next to these, so they have benches, kind of like community bench. You can eat next to people you don't even know, and these younger people, I don't know, but they were old enough. They were probably in their 20s. You know, when I say younger, but they were just playing their phones and watching TikTok like right next to these people. And I was like, see, that's lack of social awareness. It's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, they're right next to people. They're not really having that concern. And maybe, and I told her there's a distinction between social awareness because maybe they just don't know. They're not aware. They lack it. Or they just don't care. In that case, they're just rude, you know? And it's just an interesting conversation to have.
I mean, that's a good conversation to have with a young human.
Yeah.
In my opinion. I mean, my number one pet peeve personally is you could pretty much do or say anything to me, and I pretty much won't care. I think I'm thick-skinned enough, or just, you know, I just fucking, I don't give a shit. You can do whatever you want to me. I'm going to be fine. But something that I've noticed really makes me tick is when I see someone's blatant disregard for another person. You know, they're being, you know, it could be that. Like, just being rude to another person, not doing something that is, I guess, I never want to affect anybody else's day, right? So I see somebody sitting down at a table, quietly having a sandwich with, you know, their friend, family, loved one, whatever that is, cool. And then someone else enters their bubble and is doing literally anything that is now affecting that first person or group of people. That'll bother me.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a shit. That's social awareness, right?
Sure.
I mean, in my opinion, I just try to teach her to just be aware of other people and just try to be a good human. You know, try to be kind. Like literally treat people how you want to be treated. You know,
Sure.
you're gonna fail on that, but you know,
What do you teach her to do when you know, like I'm imagining like a threshold breaking there, and you know, maybe it's time to leave because, you know, the disregard for another person or group of people has escalated to a point where it's like unacceptable at a certain point. Like, it's time to go.
I guess just I mean, if it's I mean, I've had that conversation with her too. I mean, like, some people you can't have a rational conversation with an irrational person. You know.
Sure.
So it's only gonna make things worse. It's gonna escalate it for no reason. Just get out of there. Yeah.
You've had her training a couple times, handful of times, right?
Yeah.
Not that into it.
Well, at the time, I kind of want to get her. I really wanted to get back into. I want it to be a part of her life, but I guess I got to lead by example in that sense too. But I'm thinking about just trying to get her into maybe just kickboxing.
Sure.
You know, just to maybe ease her. It might just be the physical contact that she was just uncomfortable with. I don't know.
I mean, jiu-jitsu's
It's a lot, you know.
touchy-feely.
Yeah.
But yeah, kickboxing's cool, man. There's a couple of great programs around here. I was into it for a period of time, but it didn't hold my interest. For whatever reason, jiu-jitsu seems to have held my interest. It just doesn't feel like I've ever touched the bottom of the pool in terms of everything that's there. I think if I had gotten to the point where I felt like I'd explored everything there was to explore and I don't think I'd be doing it still. I think I'd have gotten bored.
Yes and no. There's no excuse, you know. Believe it or not, I mean, I haven't been training for years, but it's always in the back of my mind. I was just a happier person. Even my ex-girlfriend told me, like, you were a happier man when you trained, you know? It's, I mean, you know more than me. You just feel better, you know?
Sure.
There's something to be said for just, and I don't know, I enjoy being on the mats and learning and getting beat up, whatever, you know? It just feels good. I'm going to go there on Saturday morning, get beat up, get a good sweat in, you know?
Sure.
It's just hard. Like, my job's pretty physical. And it's all excuses, but, like, I don't know. Just sometimes I'm just exhausted.
Sure. What do you do for work?
I work on water systems. So, I guess I considered a pump mechanic. So, my company drills wells.
Drills wells? Yeah. Slide that thing to the end of the table. You can just
Sorry.
drag it all the way out there.
So, we have drillers. We drill water wells. And then we come in after the fact and put in the pump systems, plumbing, electrical, all the stuff that goes with it. But that's kind of a simplified version, but it's pretty diverse, really, because we do a lot of work for the vineyards and wineries.
Sure.
So everything that goes along with that, like big, huge systems in ponds, variable frequency drives, motor control systems, filters, you know, there's all kinds of stuff to it.
Is that a type of work that's resignated specifically to this particular geography? You mentioned the wineries. This is essentially wine country. Are there folks outside? I mean, does your line of work does it exist in, like, I don't know, Nevada?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's I think per capita we have a lot of wells. So I think
Like here in like Sonoma County.
Sonoma County, yeah, just because it's pretty rural, you know, and then like a lot of the vineyards. But you can go anywhere, they have wells. I mean, people don't have, you know, city water systems.
Sure.
Out in the country, they have to have their own water source. You know, maybe it wouldn't be on this scale, but there's people need domestic wells and stuff like that. If you go down to 5 and all that in Central, you see all those wells, or in Sacramento, there's big wells for the irrigation and stuff.
You know what's weird is you head down to, I don't know why I was going down there, but we were in Bakersfield one time on our way to LA, and we pulled over. And they got these like oil derricks all over the place. Pulled over at like a liquor store to grab some waters or something to get back on the road, and just like right next to the liquor store, there was a oil pump. I guess it's an oil derrick, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Like going up and down?
Up and down, like the old shit that
I
you
don't know. Oh yeah, well I guess like Oildale, they do have all that out there.
It's all over the place.
Yeah.
And I guess probably the same type of work goes into if you're doing. I don't know what the difference would be between drilling for water or drilling for oil.
I don't either, because I'm not like technically on the drilling side. So
You're like a maintenance guy, or like you will help build the system. Once the pump goes in, you help cap it and distribute it, or like how's that work?
yes and no. Like say just one scenario, our company could drill a well, and what that means is they drill a big hole.
Yep.
Go as far down until they hit water, to where they theoretically hit water, and they think. Then they put plastic pipe in there with perforations to allow the water to come in. Then they put sand and different types of formation around that pipe. And then we can come in and put a certain pump in there, whatever their needs are and whatever that well is capable of. And then you build a system around that.
Does the pump sit at the top of the pipe or down below?
Could be either.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of submersible pumps, they're kind of like built like cylinders. So there's a motor on the bottom, and it has like a shaft, kind of like a blender,
Okay.
with splines on it. And then the pump is a cylinder too, and it sits on top of that spline, and that has a female side, and it spins it, creates a centrifugal, sends the water up.
Cool.
But like I'm saying, there's all kinds of different some people have huge pumps with motors on top or little domestic.
Yeah, you're going to
systems.
get something different for somebody that wants to have a source of water for their residents versus
Yeah.
somebody that wants to like water an orchard of
Yeah.
something or other.
There's pluses and minuses to it. It's kind of cool because it's pretty diverse, but it can be challenging because we have to do service calls and doing troubleshooting. So I could work on something that I haven't worked on in years, and maybe even obsolete item. So I got to like try to find the situation for this and what to do.
Sure.
Like, it's good and bad.
How long you been doing that?
19 years.
19 years.
Yeah.
Have you been with the same outfit all that time?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm a creature of habit. I'm the opposite of you. I just
Shots fired.
no. Wait, you've told me like how you like. I don't see how people can just stay in one spot. And I don't know. Maybe I'm just lazy, but I just like a simple life, you know. And it worked out fine. I tried like my boss wanted me in the office. You know, he's like, "Oh, you're more valuable to me in the office than working." So I tried it. I didn't enjoy it, man. I didn't enjoy it. I don't like the people dynamics, and I don't know.
There's no probably less problem solving, right? Required in the office, or less interesting problem solving.
No, I would say it's all how you package it, because you can. There's really a lot of more variables, I guess, because you're dealing with all the humans, customers, writing up quotes, designing jobs, and then at the same time dealing with all the manpower in the field, fielding their calls and helping them out and scheduling. And I didn't like it. You know, I would take it home with me. I don't know, like I stress off it because I'm worried about the next day, and it wasn't cool. And you know, I guess it's like anything. If I had to, I could, but I don't have to. So why?
I don't know, man. I feel like there's got to be a lot to. It's kind of like how Maddie and Kelly are. You know, it seems like they spend the majority of their days kind of out and about at different customer build locations. You know, Maddie will be like, "Oh, I was on the excavator all day, working heavy equipment," or something like that. Meanwhile, I'm in this cave with like 5 screens in front of me. Command line interface, trying to speak some language to a robot so that I can get some shit done. And, the grass is never greener, ever. No matter what side of it. You're me sitting in there thinking about, the other dude sitting under an apple tree eating a sandwich for his lunch. And you're like, man, that sounds great. And, maybe you're that guy out there under the apple tree thinking, fuck, man, I really wish I didn't have to, in 5 minutes get back on that shovel or something. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I remember when I was younger, I read a book called Man's Search for Meaning.
A Man's Search for Meaning?
Yeah.
Okay.
You ever heard of it?
I've not.
Changed my life. It was written by Viktor Frankl, who was a psychologist who got caught up in the concentration camps. He was Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
And he documented his experiences while he was in there.
Okay.
It's a really short book. It's pretty famous. And so the first part of it is just him documenting all his experiences and the horrific stuff he saw and he witnessed. But he also highlighted like how, for instance, like say me and you are in the same concentration camps, experiencing the same things, being starved to death, being tortured. But this person would, connive and do whatever he could to survive. Throw people under the bus, whatever, beat other people just so he can get an extra piece of meat. But this person would give up his last piece of bread, maybe for a pregnant woman,
Sure.
Same experiences, just different reactions to them.
Different people
Yeah.
behaving differently, right?
Yeah, same situations. But what he came up with his own school of thought called logotherapy. his own school of psychology.
It's called what?
Logotherapy.
Logo?
Logo.
Logo.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, there it is. Logotherapy.
Yeah.
Frank called his approach logotherapy or meaning therapy, which centers on the belief that humans can overcome the inherent suffering and disappointments of life by finding meaning and a sense of purpose in every moment. Okay.
So when I read this, I was incarcerated. So I got incarcerated when I was 16. And I got sent to like juvenile places, and I got sent to the California Youth Authority. And I was getting into a lot of trouble in there, so I was put in these like really extreme lockdown programs. Where, I mean, sometimes they would like kind of like torture you. Like a lot of kids were like killing themselves. They actually shut that place down, all of it.
How so? Like, torturing them how?
If you got on their nerve physically, mentally, like they would put you in these cells, just dark dungeon cells, and wake you up at random like times of the day to make you shower, and you have to go in a cold shower. Yeah.
And like, what age range are we talking about here? You mentioned youth authority. I assume this is all under 18.
Yeah, when I went in, well, actually, the youth authority at that time was going from, you could go all the way from 12 years old, I think, maybe 11, all the way to 25.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they obviously keep them kind of separated. You're not going to have a 12-year-old with a 25-year-old, but you could, you know. Yeah, it was,
So, tell me how this affected you reading about logo
therapy.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Well, I just got into reading just because it was an escape, you know. I didn't have anything else to do, just read. It's funny because I was in this lockdown program, and they had me do a test. So I did this test, like an not IQ test, but just like a grading, trying to.
Like a psychological, like evaluation?
It might have been, because at the time they called me before this board, and they like, they said I was antisocial and extremely violent, and they wanted to put me on medication.
Would you agree with that at the time for yourself, or no?
Yes and no. I mean, it's exactly what I told them. I was like, well, I'm antisocial because I'm here by myself, and I'm just a quiet person in general. I'm violent because this is the circumstances that I'm in. I mean, not granted, I didn't have to be violent, but a lot of it was just ego and fear, and I just, you know, I was in a violent.
A lot of that probably came from your circumstances, right? Like you always hear about having to go to prison, and then like you got to just take out the biggest dude there, so you could set, these are broad brushstrokes, you know.
I mean, I went in there gangbanging, so it was I was kind of asking for it in that sense. But when I say by ego and fear, it's like I was a little guy from Sonoma County. It's not like I was some like hardcore gangbanger, you know. I just went in there, but I was there with hardcore gangbangers from all over California. So when I say ego and fear, I just didn't want to. One, my ego is I didn't want to. I wanted to like. All right, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to excel.
Well, I mean, there's probably like predatory class folks in there that are looking.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. So, and that's the same inside of an incarceration or not. Mm-hmm. There's always going to be, you know, this class people, that class people, everywhere. You go to the gym, predatory class.
That's what I tell people. Like, one of the most important things I took from there was understanding, or at least my understanding of human nature, right? So if you see humans stripped down to basic instincts, fear, ego, hunger, and there's nowhere to escape, we're all the same, you know? You learn a lot about a man when you're stuck in a situation where you can't escape. It's just you and another man. There's either fear, you either fear, fight, or you crumble. One of the two, something's going to happen. You know what I mean? But what I say about human nature is like nobody deserves to be on a pedestal. I've seen them all, you know? I've seen literal people's tattooed from, head to foot.
From hairline to toenail.
Yeah, just none of it matters, and they were like literal killers on the streets. But they come in there, and it's a different story. Not that I was a badass; I was just a little dude. But I remember reading a quote. It said, "I used to read a lot, so I got into reading a lot, and I got into like philosophy and different schools of thoughts. I don't know why that helped me, but it did. I think we got sidetracked somewhere.
No. We're talking about.
But I remember reading a quote, and it said, "A hero and a coward feels the same fears. They just react to them differently." And when I read that, I was like, "Oh, there's nothing wrong with being scared. It's just human." You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then delving into that, I was like, "Well, yeah. If you're not scared, you're either crazy or you're an idiot, right? Mm-hmm. Fear is a sign of intelligence, really. You just got to deal with it and process it and do whatever you can." But back to what happened was when I was a kid in that place, they asked me to do the psychological evaluation.
Okay.
They put me on meds, and I told them no. I'm glad I didn't. Because
Any idea what they wanted to put you on?
Yeah. It was called Thorazine.
Bor or Thorazine?
Thorazine.
Oh, yeah, okay. I know. I've heard of that one.
Yeah.
That's for like mellowing out like.
That's crazy. I don't even know what it is, but yeah, those kids were walking around like zombies in there. There's a lot of kids that, they were fucked up in there. Like mentally, they were abused as children.
Sure.
But, I don't know, what is Thorazine?
Thorazine, also known by its generic name, blah, 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 is a medication classified as a conventional or typical antipsychotic. Okay? Thorazine is primarily used to manage manifestations of psychotic disorders such as schizophrenia, manic depressive illness, bipolar disorder. It can be used to treat behavioral problems, anxiety, chronic hiccups. Maybe that.
Chronic hiccups. That's a bold stance.
Some other stuff, I don't really know what those are. I think I've only mostly heard about it's being used for the first of those severe behavioral problems in children, including combativeness, explosive, hyper-excitable behavior, hyperactivity in children's ages 1 to 12. I don't know. I'm sure it's got some side effects.
Oh, yeah. I just remember all those kids being like zombies out there.
What age were you at when they were interested? So did they have to get your consent to take that?
Take what?
They wanted to put you on this medication.
Yeah, because I wasn't. Yeah, it was voluntary because they just dropped it after that.
Okay, they're like, "You want it?"
Yeah,
and you're like, "Nah."
And they probably could court ordered if I was being like violent towards them,
sure.
But I wasn't. I wasn't a problem with them. There's, I don't know what it was, but then I end up taking like these tests, and they're like, I came back before them, and they're like, "You're really intelligent. You have good comprehension." And I was like, "Oh." I remember them telling me that as a kid, but like I remember when those people told me that, I was like, "Oh." It made me feel good. So after that, I started reading a lot. And even after that test, they had me take an IQ test. They were like, "We want you to take this other test." I think they were trying to see if I was something special.
Sure.
They never got back to me, so I don't think it went. But nonetheless, it got me into like valuing just knowledge,
Okay.
So at that point, I just started reading a lot. I'd always have like a dictionary. When I didn't know words, I would look them up, and yeah, that's just how I got into it. But I don't know where we were talking about that.
Well, we started with your work.
Logotherapy.
Yep,
Yeah.
logotherapy.
For me, that helped me because what he talks about is like he talked about like people's lives are like a movie, right? You have all these little snippets and clips. Different scenes in a movie.
This is from Viktor?
Yeah.
Viktor Frankl?
Yeah.
Okay.
And sometimes the end of the movie won't make sense to the end. You know what I mean? If you try to. And he said like, basically you need a meaning and purpose for life to keep going, and and your meaning could be totally different from mine. And my meaning today could be completely different tomorrow or 2 years from now. But that's what keeps you going. A higher sense, something bigger than yourself. You know? At the time, though, I was in those lockdown programs, and it was just dark. You know, like I don't know how to explain that. It's just, I was a kid.
Sure.
It was just dark.
I mean, not to put words in your mouth, but it seemed like you were a kid with very little to no safety net in terms of like family.
Aside from my grandma. My grandma
Aside
Lucy.
from your grandma, yeah.
Who I named my daughter after.
Yeah. I mean, that seems, sparse, right? I don't feel, I mean, I had parents and, they kept the lights on and they kept me in a house with a roof over my head. And I don't ever remember like being super hungry. They weren't, my parents were poor. But, I guess I still feel like there's more there than a lot of people have, right? So that's wealthy beyond comparison to a lot of people out that experience life, right? Like they don't have anything.
It's all relative, right?
It's all relative,
A kid in Africa would look at my lifetime and be like, damn, you had it good.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And I mean,
You had food?
but I can imagine you had to struggle with, feeling like you were on your own to some significant degree. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but to me, if I was in that situation you're describing, and I wanted to get on the phone and talk to somebody, and it was grandma, maybe that would have been enough for me. But again, that's lean in terms of support structure.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like anything else. In the moment, it's just the water you're swimming in, right? It just doesn't seem like anything, just where you're at, right? As a father now of an 8-year-old, I think about things like, damn, I couldn't imagine my daughter going through this stuff. You know what I mean?
That was going to be one of my next questions is, because it seems like clearly now you talk about like finding meaning, logotherapy, have some, destination in mind, maybe, this is what, pick something that you're going to pursue maybe, or, something that's going to be a framework or a strategy for how you live each day. That I feel like I didn't have that growing up. But now clearly you have a child, right? So that's pretty much, that's great. I had a child when I think I had just turned 19. So all of those years before that, no goal in mind. Suddenly, there's somebody I'm in, like their life is attached to mine now. So I got to change from the person whose number one pastime is drinking in a public park to somebody. I think my goals were really meager. I said like I just want to be somebody that my kid is not embarrassed about. That is the goal now. I mean, but that's a goal, right? So yeah, we're not drinking in the park anymore. I got to find something to do with my time. I started training very specifically. I thought it was cool. I saw these like early UFCs, and I could tell that the dude that was winning these UFCs didn't have any like acute physically intrinsic traits that made him physically dominant versus anybody. Yeah. They'd take this little scrawny dude in pajamas, put him on one side of this caged area against a dude that's like clearly physically imposing from a like strength and just, I don't know. I'm thinking that guy Chemo. He had tattoos everywhere, just all muscle, wearing like Speedos, like the worst thing you could imagine running at you in the dark.
Sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, like this guy was, like you throw him in there and he's doing a sequence of things that he probably, if you don't have intrinsic physical traits that you're folding into the equation, you're going to be left with nothing unless you have some sort of plan that you want to implement. And this guy was implementing a plan in each fight. And I was like, oh, I don't know what the plan is. I don't know what that guy knows, but he's going into these situations that look horrifying, and he is coming out the winner. And I was like, that's cool. There's like, up at that time, I thought a fight was just like a free for all, you know, like slip on a banana peel. You know what I mean? It's like anything can happen. To some degree, that's the case.
Yeah.
But this dude was taking this chaotic event and funneling it all into a place where he could deal with it in a way. So he had a plan on what he was going to do. I thought that was cool, and I was like, okay, so fighting is something you can like really learn how to do. So I started training because I was like, I got a kid now. Let's level up our goal from not being somebody embarrassing to being somebody who actually is a beneficial entity in this person's life. And I was like, I want to learn. I'm going to start doing so. I'd never done anything. You know, I was just pretty much a loser. So I was like, I'm going to find where I can start training.
Was jiu-jitsu your first martial art?
Yeah.
You didn't do nothing else?
No, I mean, Brazilian jiu-jitsu wasn't in Sonoma County at this particular time. There was a Japanese jiu-jitsu gym. So I think at the age of 19, I was taking Japanese jiu-jitsu, which...
Is that the one on Highway 12?
It's not there anymore, but yeah.
Yeah, right by the 7-Eleven?
Yep.
Yeah.
It was like a barn, you know, you go in there.
Like a hangar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
what, that's like some joint manipulation? Like small?
So I'll say this, the Japanese jiu-jitsu flavor, it's called Hanshin. No, that was the gym. This was called Danzanryu Jiu-Jitsu. Very Japanese name. It came from a Japanese gentleman. I want to say his name was Henry Okazawa or something like that. But Henry Okazawa, and I should look this up so I don't mispronounce the guy's name, but like he developed this form of jiu-jitsu. He cobbled it together from a number of different other martial arts, but it was interesting because he built this jiu-jitsu system and taught this jiu-jitsu system all out of Hilo, Hawaii. I don't know why that's interesting to me, but like I thought that was cool. Clearly not a giant metropolitan city, Hilo, Hawaii. I've never been there. I would like to go there one day to check it out. I think that's where BJ Penn's gym is.
Yeah, that's where he's from. He grew up in Hilo.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's fascinating stuff. But yeah, the Japanese jiu-jitsu system of Danzanryu Jiu-Jitsu.
Wait, was this guy was Japanese or Japanese Hawaiian?
I understand he was Japanese. Let's find out. Here, Henry Okazawa. Okay, and Henry Okazaki Jiu-Jitsu. Let's see. So Shiro Okazaki Henry founded Danzanryu Jiu-Jitsu.
And that was a lineage that guy, your teacher, was under?
At that place when I first started, yeah. So they were teaching Danzanryu Jiu-Jitsu at that gym over there on Highway 12. So he died in 1951. So he's from 1890 to 1951. So, I mean, I feel like that's far enough back to where training in the gi or the kimono made sense because that was probably what just people were wearing.
Yeah.
I don't know what was going on. Maybe not in the 50s, but...
Samurai outfits.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. Okazaki. Yep.
A lot of it, that's what it was designed for, right? If you, last case effort, if you lose your sword.
Yeah, I mean, the story goes that, samurais, had armor and swords and knives and all these different weapons and stuff, but in the off chance that they found themselves in a situation where they were unarmed, then, the training continues. We have to have a system of combat for when and if we find ourselves with nothing but our bare hands.
Yeah.
Right? And
That's how I am. Like, if you get past my sarcasm and wit,
yeah.
here I come. Thumb wrestling. Coming at you.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, these fights are 99% mental, right? That's why I break you down with insults the majority of the time.
Hurtful.
But yeah, like they would, hypothetically speaking, you're in armor. You've got to be able to walk and move and things like that. So, the armor they had would exist in such a way where they, had to bend their elbows, have to move their shoulders and bend their knees and things like that. And otherwise you're just a statue, right? So that's where all the joint manipulation stuff comes from. Because if you can, you're in a fight with somebody wearing armor, you're going to be able to, break their arm or their shoulder in those locations where the armor has to allow for a human to bend so that the human can move appropriately. That's the story.
That's why if you just learn pressure points, you don't have to worry about all that,
Pressure points?
Yeah, just
do they
knock
work
somebody out.
when you're wearing armor?
Yeah, just
I feel like
Steve was like, "Oh shit, bro."
I don't know. Dude.
Yeah, ready for
I've been
that.
doing this shit for a long time, and the only technique that I feel like the universal axiom as it pertains to fighting is that if you start biting dicks, like you don't even need to bite it. You can just latch onto it and let me know, like, you don't want this. And I'll here's my wallet, man. What do you need? Where do you want me to take you? Anything you want. Please don't chomp.
Do not.
But then again, you add armor into that, you're never going to get the opportunity to wrap your lips around my.
You're pale, phallus. I mean, I never seen it.
Where you at politically?
It's silly.
Tell me about your political posture.
I don't really have any.
The Liberty Tree podcast came about during, I want to say it's 2020. 2020 was probably one of the most interesting years in my existence. I was never political. I'm still not really political. I don't have a lot to say. I don't have a lot of faith in political structures. I just always had, when I was 18 and they said, okay, you can vote now. Cool. I'm like, okay, I'm going to exercise my power as a, American and be a part of the democratic process. And I'm actually going to look into these guys who are, on the docket. These guys want the job. So all I do is look at each person, kind of try to get the best interpretation of where their positions were relative to mine. How do you feel about this, that, the other thing? I feel this way, this way, this way. Okay, which of these guys is in the same boat as you? Cool. I mean, that's who I'm more or less voting for. Are you kind of going to vote for somebody that seems like they have ideologies in line with yourself, right?
Well, you have the right to get married to another man, so what more do you want?
I don't want. Well, I'd like to marry several men.
No, you're just being greedy.
I think the first time when I was 18, there was an election. I don't recall what year it was, but I don't even know. I don't know who even won this, but there was this guy, Pat Buchanan. And looking back at it now, Pat Buchanan was referred to as what they call an isolationist. He wanted to more or less distance America from all of the international policies, kind of bring funding back home to deal with things here. And that's probably an oversimplification of the whole thing. That was how I interpreted it back when I was 18. And it probably says quite a bit about me that I've still got the same mindset as I did when I was 18 when I'm talking about this. But I mean, I was like, yeah, things aren't great here. Like, what are we doing over there? What are we doing in this other country? Why are we sending all this funding to? I didn't understand international politics. I still don't. You know, I think that the amount of money we send out for stuff that seems like it's not money well spent is pretty exorbitant, and we've got a lot of problems here. So this guy's running on the isolationist platform, and I was like, yeah, I like the cut of this guy's jib. He didn't win. So I think I was like, oh,
Who do you run against?
let me I feel like Pat Buchanan
I remember that.
running for president. What year was that?
Feels like Bush.
So he ran in 92 and 96.
Dukakis?
He ran against incumbent George Bush.
Oh, okay.
I guess George Bush won, yeah. Yeah, he was. I don't know. This was like some early on. I've actually never doubled back to take a look at Pat Buchanan and that particular election run. I mean, we got Bush at some point, and Bush is by and large kind of referred to now commonly as a bit of a war criminal, like sending us into Iraq after 9/11. Chasing down weapons of mass destruction. So when you say you're not political, you don't really have a take, you kind of let that whole world just kind of exist, and you just get up, go to work, and
Yeah.
repeat.
I guess it's like that saying, what is it? Is it apathy or ignorance? I don't know, and I don't care. And maybe that's probably a fault on my part, but I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. Like, to an extent, like, I feel like we only know what they want us to know, right? It's all bullshit to me. It's all money. Whatever party you're backing, they're all making money, right? Off of us. And some of it's just human nature and greed. And I just don't know, like Jordan Peterson had a chapter in there, Make Your Own Bed. You ever?
A little bit. I read some of his 12
step.
Yeah.
12 Rules for Life.
That's a dense book.
Yeah. I got both of his books. I really enjoy them. And I like the way he breaks them down, And to me, like, the way he breaks them down is just intelligent and just simple. But he doesn't, at least from what I see, he doesn't try to portray himself as perfect or always, an example of what he's trying to preach. He's just, this is what I try. Anyways, Make Your Own Bed, like, the gist of it is just like start your day off. But instead of trying to change the world, worry about your life first. And that can be just by waking up in the morning and making your own bed, right? Start off there. And once you get your own life in order and your family and everything, then you can start worrying about the other things.
Sure.
And what he mentioned is, like, a lot of the people that are super social justice warriors are worried about the outside. Their internal life or their internal worlds are a wreck.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I don't know if that's apathy on my part, but, like, it's just so much bullshit. You know what I mean? And I don't want to worry. Like, some of this stuff, like, I can't change. I'm not going to change these people trying to oppress us or trying to, like, infringe on this. But maybe that's stupid. Maybe that's why people make changes, because they're the people that don't let that shit go, I don't know.
It's an interesting point. I personally agree with you where I've got more than enough on my plate within my own personal life that I don't feel like ever gets squared away. I don't think that Jordan Peterson's great, but I think that's coded language for just fix up your own shit.
Yeah.
Don't make the world's problems the top list of things that you're going to try to do in a day, because you've probably got some other shit that's more important.
And it just seems stressful. Like, to worry about all the injustices and things that go against what you believe. You could you could read anything and read all your little fish bubbles about what you believe and just be stressed out all day. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know if maybe that brings them meaning. I don't know. It's not my place to judge. Just for me, it's stressful, and I don't have the time for it. You know.
You want to take a quick break?
Sure.
Important for Israel, Judaism or democracy?
Judaism. Democracy is a good value, and probably Judaism has a lot of elements of democracy in it, but Israel is not a democracy. Israel has some democratic values, but certainly not just Judaism as in Torah, but Jewish peoplehood trumps democracy. This is not a country that's meant to be equal for all. It's meant to be a nation state. It favors the national ethnic group called the Jewish people. It has to favor it. That's what a nation state does.
Israel is not a democracy, but they use America to install democracies around the globe. It's almost like democracy sucks and it doesn't work. It makes a country weak, and Israel knows that, so they want everybody else to be a democracy, and they themselves will have an ethno-state. I feel like that's kind of what Israel is doing. I don't know, am I crazy? Have you guys noticed this?
What is Israel's political setup? They're not on democracy. I always thought they were.
Yeah.
Shows how stupid I am.
I don't know. Let's find out.
All white people or something like that.
Is Israel a democracy? It is. Yes, it is officially a parliamentary democracy. It operates under a system where the blah 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 blah. I don't know how to pronounce this. Knesset, the unicameral parliament, is the legislative body, and the government is formed based on the result of elections. However, there are ongoing debates about the extent to which Israel can be considered a liberal democracy due to issues like the treatment of minorities and the influence of religion on the state. So, are you familiar with the term ethno-state?
Yes and no, I think.
Okay.
Or maybe I just think I know what it means. It means they're based off their ethnicity.
It seems like it. Ethno-state is a sovereign state in which citizenship is restricted to members of a particular racial or ethnic group. Okay.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't want to cross into waters that I can't speak eloquently towards, or I'm not too learned on that.
All right, so we will just sit here in silence.
We will. There's a lot of...
Get it? Because you don't know nothing. Get it?
Shut up.
Got him. Got him, everybody. Got him.
The fans... Oh, wait, hold on. I got something for this. Do you vote?
I do not.
Have you ever?
No. And I don't...
Microphone's right there.
I'm a felon, so I don't... I think you get those... I've always been under the impression that I can't, because I'm a felon. I'm not sure if those voting rights come back. That shows how much I care.
It shows how much you care?
Or don't care, I guess.
Huh. I love it. So we got blue collar. Would you consider yourself blue collar?
Yeah.
Cool. Blue collar guy. Doesn't participate in the, what would we call that? Just like, not like the electoral process, but the political process.
I really don't think I'm allowed to.
Okay.
I mean,
that makes it easy. Shit.
I don't know. I mean, I guess I see things from all perspectives. You know, I don't know. I think it's really funny when somebody chooses a side, whether it's left, right, whatever, and they're just all in, and just demonize another side. You know, because there's like not all the left is this way, not all the right is this way. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah. Oh, there's a spectrum.
yeah, there's a spectrum, and I mean, I'm definitely of the mindset of more freedom for us. You know.
Would you? Where would you fall on the like more freedoms equals less safety or security? More safety and security equals less freedoms. We'll call that a spectrum as well.
Does I don't know if that's necessarily true though. I guess what we consider freedom. I don't know how. I mean, like, what do you think? Like, when I say more freedom, meaning less rules and less police state?
Yeah, like so. My brain keeps dropping into like cybersecurity mode. In the cybersecurity world, the more secure something is, the harder it is to access it. So there's like a convenience factor, right? The less secure something is, the easier it is to get to it, right? You don't have to go through a bunch of hoops to get that thing you want. It's just sitting right there. It's not very secure. It's convenient though. If you really want to protect that thing, there's a lot of hoops you got to jump through from a security perspective now. Now, all the freedom in the world theoretically means that thing, isn't very secure. People might have to, be responsible for their own security, as opposed to the government being like, oh, no, you don't have to worry about security because all these laws are in place. They're going to make you inherently safe by virtue of the fact that, nobody can get guns here. You're safe from being shot because guns are illegal. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's where it gets messy, right? Because I really don't think that humans in general are designed to live in this big of a scale, right? And that's where it gets messy. Because anytime you have, it's just our nature to like want power, want more, or to abuse the things that we have,
It's in some people's nature for a certainty.
Yeah, but yeah, some people but some people do it because another person did it, and maybe like a person doesn't go into politics because, I want to I want to rule the world, but they just get caught up in the mix. Like, oh well, if I can provide for my family, making millions of dollars, getting, curtailing to I don't know if that's the word, like curtailing to these lobbyists, then I'm going to do it. And they didn't ultimately like start there, but they're doing it.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's definitely human nature to, if you see an opportunity to better yourself, you're more likely than not to pursue it. Now, are you going to pursue that opportunity if it means somebody's going to get hurt along the way? This is where you start to get into, okay, who are you as a person, right?
Yeah, for me, I can only speak for myself. That's where your meaning and your morals and values come in, right? Personal ones.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what I try to instill, in my daughter. Like, when nobody else is looking, your morals and values, that's all you have,
You should teach her about returning the shopping cart to the, little stall at the stores.
No, I tell fuck the white man. That's part of us.
Oh, okay. This is culturally.
Yeah. That's part of our reparation.
Okay.
So people know I'm brown. I'm pretty dark. So yeah, I'm just fucking around.
But here you are, breathing the same air as me, and everybody's fine for some reason. I don't know. Like when I was a teenager, it was like the divide between the Democrats and the Republicans. It seemed like the Republicans were viewed sort of as like the plantation owners, the old white Colonel Sanders dude that, wants slavery back if he can get it.
Less freedom. Or not less. I guess it wasn't less freedom.
Well, less for brown people.
Yeah. Well, we can't just have them just doing whatever they want, you know?
Yeah. And the Democrats were like the party of like sort of like the non-whites, the non-rich, just basically everybody you knew.
Yeah, progressive and yeah, I mean, like my grandma, she was really big in the Latino community. Like she started all kinds of like organizations out here, and she was like a social worker and stuff like that. So I remember her being actually on Shanate. Like what is that? Shanate and Franklin?
Sure.
Intersection. I remember holding signs with her for when Jesse Jackson was trying to get voted.
Okay.
Yeah, they were like, I don't know. I think there's a place for all of that, right? Like, there's a place for people trying to make changes, because if people didn't stand up for themselves, we'd still have slavery or, you know, less rights.
Maybe.
I would think. I mean, somebody had to stand up for it and make changes, right?
Yeah, I mean, American history and, you know, slavery. I mean, there's a lot of fucked up shit that happened here.
But that's every country, though.
There's a lot of slavery happening right now.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah, exactly.
I definitely don't get into, like, demonizing, oh, these people are white and they're just bad. Like, no, that's not how it works. You got Mexicans that oppress other Mexicans or other brown people just because they feel superior to them, or, you know, I feel like if you strip humans down to anything, we'll find a way to distinguish ourselves from each other. We can all look exactly the same, but like, oh, look at how those people blink. You know what I mean? They blink funny. It's just
fucking gross.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's where the balance comes in. There definitely has to be checks and balances in a community, in like, you know, in an environment. You can't just have people just doing whatever they want, because if you leave people up to their own devices, they'll do whatever. There's evil people out there. Mm-hmm. There's people that will take advantage of people. You know, there has to be checks and balances.
I feel like, I wonder if there's a psychological evaluation. You know, for police to become a police officer, you have to take this psych evaluation, and they find out whether or not you're just like some kind of crazy power hungry dude that just wants to be in this position of power so that you can exploit it. I think that's what the goal is. I don't know. Never gone through the process. But I'm curious if they got anything like that for politicians.
I don't know.
Seems like
I mean, personally, like anybody that's motivated by
the pursuit of power,
it's just a red flag in itself, you know?
Yeah.
Granted, there's people that, you know, maybe just want to make a change. That's what they believe, you know? There's people in there, but for the most part, I don't know. It's just built in itself. It's just a red flag, right?
Sure.
For me.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, I don't know if it was George Carlin that said it, but basically it was like, I don't know who said this, but basically they were like, anybody that really wants to be a politician or be in a position of power is the person that you should not have there. It should be somebody that actually will do anything they can do to avoid it, is the person that you should want in there. I think there's a lot of truth in that, because I think it attracts the wrong type of person. And again, back to that human nature thing. If there's an opportunity, you might be a truly benevolent soul, but you find this decision in front of you to fuck somebody over and really benefit yourself. And the person you're fucking over, or the group of people you're fucking over, isn't anybody you're ever going to have to answer to. They've got no access to you. You can more or less make a decision, benefit yourself at the expense of some other person or group, and call it a day. And that's kind of what the job entails, it sounds like, by and large.
But how many of us would do something like that, like, and just rationalize in our head, like, well, I'm benefiting my family, right?
Well,
I didn't really hurt anybody. Yeah, maybe I took some money from them. They'll be all right. You know, I mean, you can rationalize anything in your head. And you're not really like an evil person per se, but you're just doing what's best for yourself or your family.
Do you have any like major concerns as a blue collar American as it pertains to the political structure? Like between 2020 and today, you know, there's been so much. I mean, it doesn't sound like the advent of COVID probably affected your.
I never stopped working.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were considered essential workers because people needed water. Mm-hmm. So we were in the fire zones like right immediately, you know. So
Fire zones.
Yeah.
What are we talking about there? COVID?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Same thing.
I went. I was. Yeah, I guess I was thinking about the fires.
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, we were working. Yeah, even during COVID, we were considered essential workers. But
what were your thoughts on the? You know, I felt like starting in 2020 was a time where somebody that gets out of bed and goes through their day to day without being able, you know, really having to worry about what the government's doing here or there, you know, was now in a position where there's decisions getting made in some ivory tower that very likely could affect their day to day life. Mm-hmm. That was the case for a lot of people, a lot of businesses. And I talk about the Liberty Tree origin story, you know, just having a format to discuss, I guess it's the political sphere and how it sort of affects, you know, just normal people. Yeah. I think that might be how you would describe what the underlying theme of this podcast is. But I think you were probably pretty capable of getting up and going along your day without really having to pay any attention to what the government was doing for my entire life up until 2020. That was where I saw that like things were happening, that commands were coming down and sides were being formed in the street in front of your house. You know what I mean? People would be like listening to the news and saying, "Oh, we got to hide in our houses. We can't go to work. We can't go see our grandma." And these were all decisions that were made by somebody on TV. That was a time where the rubber kind of hit the road for a lot of folks in terms of the government having a clear and present like influence on their day-to-day life.
Like a government overreach.
I mean, to some degree.
Yeah.
That's fully subjective, whether or not there's even such a thing as government overreach. Like some people might challenge you on that, I'd assume. Mm-hmm. You know, that was a situation where freedoms were going down to increase safety, right? Mm-hmm. So you can no longer meet with people. You can't have anybody over. Or you're supposed to, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on.
It was crazy.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on all of that, you know, from the vantage point of 2025, looking back as the person you are? What are your reflections on what was done?
I guess experiencing like I told you, like kind of growing up where I grew up, human nature. Nothing a human does surprises me. So if the fact that the government or a group of people would do certain things to achieve something else, it doesn't surprise me, right? There's power and there's things that we don't see, motives. And then, but at the same time, like, was it all that? Maybe there was people that were genuinely dying, and some people they were trying to protect them. I don't know, you know? I remember when it was all happening, like, I didn't care. I mean, I was pretty healthy, and it wasn't something like, oh, I'm going to die. The only thing I was worried about is, like, my parents, you know, because they're high risk just in general, and I didn't want them to die, but, you know. I don't know. I saw the, them. It seems like they're overreaching and pushing certain things, but I don't know. Not everything's black and white. You know what I mean? There's gray areas in there, and there's a spectrum in there somehow.
Yeah, and to that point, you got to paint with a pretty broad brush when dealing with a problem. Sometimes, especially if there's like a huge populace that we're trying to solve a problem for. I totally get that you can make decisions that seem they're not decisions that are being made on a granular level for every group of person, every group of people, for individuals. And you kind of got to do the best you can if you're in a political, a place of power, and you're trying to be like, hey, we got a problem, we got to deal with it. It's going to hurt some people. Whatever. I get that.
Because let's say they wouldn't have done anything, and then way more people died, then they blame them. Like, why didn't you do more?
We will never know.
I don't know.
Right?
Yeah. Who knows? Did you remember when it first started happening? I remember we were getting all these reports, like people in New York, like millions of bodies, or like not millions, but like a lot of bodies, and they were like shipping them to like an island. Do you remember hearing about that?
I think they were putting them on a boat.
Yeah. Was that all just debunked? It was all bullshit? I never heard about that again.
Yeah.
And it was pretty dramatic.
Yeah.
Like they were moving them to an island, I think, to like, what's that word?
Quarantine.
Quarantine, yeah. But they were dead. They were just trying to get the bodies out there.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. We'd have to do some searching on that one to see, because I do remember hearing about a big boat off the East Coast that they were using in some capacity. I personally, I don't know. I know a couple people that got really, really sick.
Mm-hmm.
Marcel, he almost died.
Really?
Yeah. And kind of a bigger dude. I got really sick in, I want to say 2021. Well, I'd never really been sick like that since. I remember when I was a kid, I'd get sick once in a while and just be in bed for like a couple days. I think you just get the flu when you're a kid a couple times. But this was like that as an adult, and I was like, whoa, this is wild. But that was so early on in the process that there were no like tests, and I called the hospital. I'm like, I think I got that thing, and they're like, okay, yeah, we're gonna call you back, and I just never heard anything back. So I'll never know if I had it.
I tested positive for it once, and my daughter tested positive for it twice.
How did she do?
She was just sick. So at the time, because of things that were going on, I had custody of her. So it was just me and her. And then so the first time she got it, she was just sick, miserable. She was a little girl. She was probably like 2, maybe 3 or 4, something like that. And then we got it together, and that was just miserable.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, these are separate occasions?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what the mortality rate was for children. I think it was extremely low, but
yeah,
not a good time either way.
Yeah. But I remember when all that was I'm an extreme introvert, and I enjoy just being at home. So it didn't change my life in that respect. I was like, oh, I'm cool. This is cool. I don't care. It didn't change my life at all in that respect. Like I started hearing all these podcasts where people were talking about people were going through withdrawals or like psychological damage from being isolated.
Oh, yeah.
Like, come on, man. You don't know about isolation. And then I remember listening, because I got into podcasts and listening to them at that time when this started coming out. But one of them was like, hey, people always talk about like, oh, if I had the time, I would do this and I would do that. Well, now's your chance. Do it. And that's what I got into. I just started exercising a lot, because before that, I bought like a bunch of like body weight, like pull-up bar rings and stuff like that. So I just started exercising, and I don't know.
We talked about this a little bit the other day, but as far as raising a child in this sort of modern age, what are, because my kid was born in 98, I think. And he kind of made it to about 16 or so before the internet was really like
a thing.
Yeah. Like, what are your concerns as a parent? This guy.
Is that Red Hot Chili Peppers?
That's Iggy Pop.
Oh.
Singing the I am a passenger or whatever.
I wish I had that much confidence. Look like that and still take your shirt off.
Damn, he looks rough, dude. Like his whole shtick was being shirtless on the stage, and he's got to stick to it.
All right.
He's got a good crowd. I can't tell if he wants to be there though.
You mean on Earth?
Shit.
Look at his shoulder.
Yeah.
You see your future?
Yeah. I'm gonna go do some sit-ups immediately following this conversation.
Raising a kid with the internet. I mean, I have always made a conscious effort to minimize it. You know, she doesn't just grab it, but I mean, it's just part of life, really. There's no getting around it. You know, all you can do is minimize it, but you definitely see a difference of kids that are just given it like from birth all the time because either their parents don't want to deal with it or can't. I don't know, but like mentally development, like you see a difference, you know. But
when was the last time you went to a P Diddy freak off?
Wow, I feel like you're judging me. What is a freak off? That what he called his parties?
I think so.
I like how all these things were known, right? It's like Cosby. They knew about, like a lot of people knew about it, but it was kind of like unspoken.
Yeah, what was the tipping point with
Cosby?
Yeah.
You know who? Do you remember Hannibal Buress?
Hannibal Buress?
Yeah.
The guy?
Really?
What did he say?
I think it was something of the sense of like, it was part of his act. Like, hey, can you believe this fool's like America's dad? You know, like this motherfucker is known for raping people or something like that. I forgot what he said, but it blew up.
Let's see if we can find that. Okay, hold please.
Now, this story begins on an ordinary night at a comedy club when Hannibal Buress was performing a cultural icon.
As the f***ing smuggest old black man public persona that I hate. This kid's on TV. Pull your pants up, black people. I was on TV in the 80s. I can talk down to you because I had a successful sitcom. Yeah, it was women, Bill Cosby, so kind of brings you down a couple notches. I don't curse on stage, but yeah, you're a so I take you saying lots of motherfuckers on Bill Cosby himself if you weren't a for the most part, it's public Teflon image. I've done this bit on stage, and people don't believe. People think I'm making it up. I'm like, Bill Cosby did a lot of allegations. No, you did. That is upset. If you didn't know about it, trust me.
I don't know what the fuck all that bleeping out means, but it sounds like you called him a rapist.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Yeah, so open secret, you know, people like celebrities can get away with a lot of shit for a long time, and it just seems like eventually the snowball gets so big it smacks them.
It's unfortunate.
It really is. I really wish that he was
this is America.
Still out here doing his thing.
Freedom.
What's are you freaking out about Iran?
I would say I'm pretty ignorant. It's embarrassing how ignorant I am. But I know that, we started bombing them to help Israel?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all about the extent I know. I don't watch the news. I just hear it, you know?
Doesn't affect you.
It doesn't. I mean, it does, right? It's just, I don't know. Just try to live my day-to-day life.
I mean,
what do you think? What's going on there?
well, I mean, I can't think of why we have to be so tethered to countries in the Middle East. I don't know what the problem is that would force us to have such a great interest in things happening so far away. There's a lot of people that could probably sit and talk on that for hours, I'm sure. But it definitely, from the perspective of the two people sitting here at this table on these microphones, like, there's no real good reason why we should be involved in supporting one country, demonizing another. They might have problems with each other. If war broke out over there and they blew each other up, I'm not sure how that would impact us here. Like, you still got wells to manage, right?
Yeah. More of an isolationist. I'll live my life, bro.
Tell me about it.
But what is, and it's probably a stupid question, but what is Israel bringing to the table that they're such a factor? Is it because they're like the kind of the anchor for us, like democracies, just in that region? They don't have like an industry, right? Like, they're not bringing anything to the table, like, economically, are they?
They're a pretty significant player in the world of cyber security. So have you heard of Palantir? I love it.
My ignorance.
I mean, I think it's great to be able to don't know, don't care. That's awesome. I mean, they are the origin of a lot of organizations that are creating like cyber weapons, so to speak. So
Israel?
Yeah.
Oh, so they do have major industries out there. Gotcha.
Yeah, they're involved in a lot of stuff that kind of makes you want to go isolate.
Right. And they sell those. They sell that technology.
They will sell it. They'll sell the use of it. They will use it to get compromising information about you, and then you are now an asset of theirs.
So they might have some of that shit going on with. Huh.
Yeah. That's the whole like Epstein thing.
Yeah.
Basically.
Get somebody, compromise somebody, and you have something over them.
Yeah. So Mossad is kind of like Israel's CIA. It's a group called the Mossad, and there's a lot of connections between Epstein and Mossad. He was more or less a tool. They had been using this.
He was Israeli, or he was just Jewish?
Epstein?
Yeah.
I don't know what the difference between I would say an Israeli is somebody that lives in Israel, and a Jew is somebody that's loyal to Israel. Gotcha. That's an oversimplification, I'm sure, but using those kind of like tools and techniques to be able to get power over other people. They got all of these people of influence going to this island, and they're basically, hey, what do you want to do? Go do it. Oh, by the way, we got video of you doing that thing.
Gotcha, bitch.
Yeah. And that's kind of like an old technique. Had been going on for a long time. But, when we say, okay, well, what are we doing? Like, why are we supporting them? Do the people in power within the United States, are they assets of this other country because they've done things that have made them vulnerable to blackmail and shit like that? It's not good. Like, we got to get those folks out of here. We got, like, talk about isolationism. Things like that become less of a problem when we focus on our own borders, our own what's happening within those borders, rather. You know what I mean?
I was watching it's probably old news to you, but I was watching this video where they had now they got those drones that have the fiber optic tethers. Have you seen that?
Mm-mm.
Well, instead of being wireless, they have a spool, fiber optics, and they can't go as far, but they're more accurate, and you get better, I guess, visual control them better. But I think it was in Iran or somewhere out there, but there's so many of them that you just see all these fiber optics all over the ground.
Really?
Yeah, it's a trip.
That's interesting. Yeah, I could see that being a thing. Yeah. The mechanism to get data from a drone back to a head end is probably pretty severely limited by.
I think it's in Russia. They're using them like Ukraine and Russia.
Ukraine, yeah. Anywhere they're using drones, I'm sure, but the amount of data that can be sent from a drone back to the head end is probably severely limited by wireless capabilities. The radio on the drone talking to the radio back at the head end, only so much. A lot of that bandwidth is used to control the drone. Some of that bandwidth is used for video so that the person controlling the drone can see. If you had a fiber optic cable going from the head end to the drone, bandwidth stops being an issue. Reliability stops being an issue. Yeah, they can't go as far, but the things that you can send and receive, that's an interesting concept. I haven't seen those personally.
I think what they were talking about is they were getting all that fiber optic from somewhere, and then Ukraine was finding a way to produce it themselves, mass produce it themselves, I think. Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
What are your thoughts on the border, the United States border? As a gentleman of what is your what do they call that? What's your
ethnicity?
Ethnicity, yeah.
I'm all mixed. So between my dad and my mom, I would say I'm half Mexican, technically. But like the closest thing I had to Mexico was my nana, which is my dad's grandma. She was from Mexico, but like my grandparents were all born. Like my dad's grandparents were all from Mission District, San Francisco. And my mom's side, they were all a lot of them from Richmond, and so I'm like half Mexican, Native American, Nicaraguan, and I think my grandma was half Greek.
Damn.
Got that. Yeah, I'm all mixed.
Does that influence your opinions, if you have any, on things like
on the border and stuff?
The border, yeah.
It's funny. I was at the dog park the other day, and these older people were having a conversation about all the deportation. They're like, Nazis. They're Nazis, and I don't know if they're saying it for my benefit. They're just trying to. We're on your side, kind of thing. And the one guy, he was French Canadian, and I was like, well, I mean, I can see both sides of the story, right? And I was like, but I mean, I can't even get into Canada with a DUI, so there's that. You guys are protecting your borders, And it got all awkward. I don't always make conversation, but when I do, it's awkward.
Give me that phone. Go on.
I guess in a sense I see, like, one, there's millions of people that are just trying to provide for their family and themselves. And anybody else in the exact same scenario would do it. Like, if we were living in poverty here and Canada was, right there, we would do the same thing, right? To try to provide for your family.
Sure.
But at the same time, economically, and you can't just have an open border, right? I get that. So there has to be checks and balances, you know. So I don't know. I get it. It's like it's not all based on race, you know.
Sure.
Mexico deports hella people, you know.
Yeah, and like people trying to get to the United States through Mexico. I was in the fire academy a long time ago, and there was this guy that was from El Salvador, and I was standing with this group of people, and this dude from El Salvador is super cool. Another one of the guys in the class called him a Mexican, and the guy came about as close as you can come to losing your shit without getting violent.
Yeah.
Is that? But he took pretty significant issue with being referred to as a Mexican. And I didn't know what the hell. I wasn't jumping into this conversation. I was just kind of watching it. I was like, "Whoa, this dude is super not cool with Mexicans." An El Salvadorian dude, big issue with Mexicans. Yeah. I'm a dumbass white guy. Everybody's in one big brown box to me.
Beans are beans, bro.
But I come to find out that like the people from El Salvador trying to get to the United States through Mexico have a really fucking bad time. I thought that was super interesting. When I started, like, I just did a little bit of digging. They got some really horrendous stories of people that are not Mexicans trying to get through Mexico on their way here. And, you know, they all desperately want to get somewhere better, right?
But yeah, I work with this dude, and he was telling me, like, you talk to the people, like, from other countries that come from, like, South America or Central America, the worst place border to cross is Mexico, because it's fucking horrific, you know, like things they have to, if you get caught or something like that, you know, it's crazy. Do you remember Alex and Carlos Rodriguez?
I think so.
Yeah. Well, Carlos was born in Guatemala, but, you know, he was raised here. And he kept getting in trouble going to prison, so he would get deported to Guatemala. And he rode the death train at least twice that I know of. And yeah, he's sleeved up, and you know, he had some stories, man. But I remember calling him, sending him money in Mexico, and they're like, the person like, oh, you want to talk to the immigrant? Yeah, she called him an immigrant.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I don't know, it's like all these countries seem as though they're in the right, they're free and clear to have this pretty aggressive stance as it pertains to a border for their country. In the United States, there's a big debate as to whether or not, you know, we should or should not, you know, defend the border, I guess.
But the funny thing is this is nothing new. I mean, if you read, like, history, all through history, like, I remember they had one program called the Bracero program, and there was situations where, like, they let Mexicans in because they need the labor, right? And then when things get funky, the people start fighting back. Then they gotta have a campaign to get them out of here because they need something to fall back on. As far as like, oh well, we need to get rid of them. And I remember them sending. There was a lot of Mexicans they were sending back, like in the trains, the boxes, kind of like they did with the Jews, and a lot of people were dying back then. You know, I forgot what it was called, but I mean it's nothing new. There's always something going on, right? It's just. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really only in the news because, like, they elected this dude, and he's got a pretty aggressive stance on making a change.
Yeah,
basically. Did what was it? Trump? Then it was Biden. Now it's Trump again. What were your thoughts on? What were your thoughts on Biden?
I didn't even really pay attention.
Yeah.
I didn't even pay attention to it. I just know he was old and senile.
Yeah.
I'm sure he was just another puppet. Barely seemed like he was very coherent, but I didn't really know his political views or anything.
Sure. What there seems like a pretty big snapback. I'm always surprised at the political shit. Like seems like some people are able to be like, oh, this is going to happen. I watched a video the other day on YouTube about this Chinese, he's like I guess he's like a political teacher. So there's like he teaches at a college, and he does these YouTube videos of his lectures in class. And there's a video that was timestamped like a year ago. And he's like, I'm going to make some predictions right now. And first prediction is that Donald Trump's going to win the 2024 election. The next one is that we're going to go to war with Iran. And then the next one is that we're going to lose that war to Iran. And this was like a year ago he said this. Pretty interesting stuff. Like I don't have enough knowledge to be able to put all these pieces together in my head and make some sort of bold predictions. But like a year ago, I wouldn't even been able to say, you get a 50-50 shot. It's Kamala versus Trump. Like, fuck if I know, dude. And but this dude a year ago was like, nah, Trump's gonna win. And then just seemingly arbitrarily, we're gonna go to war with Iran. Like a year ago, I would have been like, fucking what? And then most disturbingly, the last little point he has is we're gonna like lose this war. So it's gonna be interesting to watch what happens with that guy's predictions. I can't sit through those fucking lectures. I mean, I'm passingly becoming more and more aware of the political landscape and how it affects, because I'm similar to you. I kind of don't care at a certain point, but the only reason I do care in this day and age is because, again, they did push us through that period of time starting in 2020 where the government was like coming down and trying to make policies that affected how your next door neighbor, the people on your street, the people in your town live their lives. And by and large, that's just not something you see every day. So it kind of touched a lot of people's personal lives at that point. So now I know it can be done. Like now I know that there's an actual like real entity that can come down and start changing things for you, right? Like,
I don't mean to interrupt, but I guess my thing is like if that's your thing, like politically, you have a strong stance on something, and so you get into that because that's what you believe in. But if you're not doing anything about it, you're just stressing yourself out, right?
For sure.
It seems like a distraction to me. It's like sports, like in a way, like you're just division.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's also the thought process that says the whole thing, the whole political process, the whole democratic process is
distraction.
It's like Hollywood for ugly people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that there's actually so much other shit going on that doesn't like it.
I don't know. AOC is pretty hot.
You think so?
I think so. I mean, I'm not mad at her.
Above the neck or below?
Below.
Below? Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. What about this one?
What is that?
Where are you at with stuff like this? Let's find out what this person's saying.
The already fragile and arbitrarily constructed framework for gender performance that is necessary to maintain power dynamics. Conversely, it could also be that from the moment we are born, and perhaps even before that, when families gather to reveal the sex organs of their child, that the drag show begins. The blue confetti falls and the pink smoke clears, and there's a mad dash to project cultural and societal
That person has
expectations
a hell
of
of a
gender
barber.
performance onto that child.
But see,
There's a
even
lot of
that,
facial decorations going on there. You think that was a man or a woman?
it's not our place.
Okay.
Not our place. I
The answer is no.
even that, like, I would say, like, most people that would maybe fall to the left side, right?
That?
Like that
Sure.
person, even if they are transsexual or gay, a lot of those people they don't. Their views aren't like, "Hey, let's push this on our kids" either. Like they're offended by that weird stuff too. You know, like I don't know. People I've
You
spoken
talking about
to.
most people see something like that and they say,
Well, no, I feel like that. You know, like what we're talking about, like the distraction,
sure.
like the politics, like creating division amongst ourselves to keep us distracted from what's really going on. Like them highlighting stuff like that. That's not how most of people, even on the left, want.
Of
You know what
course.
I mean?
So for the home listener, we just cut to a clip of it was someone wearing like a Catholic priest's garb, standing at a pedestal, presumably in front of an audience at a church. It appeared to be in some sort of like cathedral setting, but
Kind of
definitely
look Muslim, right?
I don't know.
Muslim in a way.
It was difficult to make out the gender of said individual.